Alright, so in this video, let's talk about the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and let's get into it. So I'm recording this after the latest stream where I finished the story up, and so I haven't played the entire game because there's a lot to go through with shrines and the Korok seeds and a bunch of other stuff that I haven't found yet. I have beaten the main parts of the story and played pretty much the entirety of the game, looked through the map, both the depths and regular Hyrule as well as the sky. There's a lot more to this game than I was expecting when it was first unveiled, and even up to the launch. I didn't realize there was a depth until I actually kind of had to go into it. I didn't realize how big the depths was. I thought it was just like little caves, but there are caves and then there's the depths. The caves are actually in the main world of Hyrule and not the depths. The depths is completely dark and kind of scary. If you have seen any of the streams, I kind of got scared by going into them because it is like pitch dark. You can't see in front of you. Even with the 2 pieces of light armor that I found, I still need to find chest piece, sadly. But even with those pieces, it's still hard to like see. So you have to really use the seeds. I don't remember what they're exactly called. I'll probably put them on the screen, at least the name of them or a picture of them or something that I can find. You have to really shoot those like with the arrows or throw them and hit them on the ground to be able to see anything in the depths. And so I haven't really explored that much of the depths. So my experience with that is I don't really need to go down there unless I have to. There is a reason, 2 reasons to go down there: for story and some other reasons for side quests and stuff. But I avoided it for the most part up until I needed to go down there. So I also like to mention in this video, there will be no spoilers. I put it in the title probably, as well as the description. There's no spoilers. I'm going to avoid spoiling anything. I may make another video if you guys want to see another video where I talk about the spoiled, more spoiler parts of the game. But I'm just trying to get my thoughts out of what I think were good points to this compared to Breath of the Wild or other games. Not too much about the story, at least in spoiler territory. So let's go ahead and start with the good. I really enjoy every aspect of the abilities. I actually like weapon degradation or weapon breaking. I really like that. It makes me have to rethink things, and when it breaks during combat, it kind of adds a difficulty to the game, which is really nice. As well as just, I don't want to be stuck with the same weapon. It kind of gets boring. So there's a lot of good things to love about this game. I really like the abilities, the times that they actually make you use it, or they designed the levels around using different abilities in the game is really nice. I enjoy they actually thought about that more than just trying to make it hard for you to use the abilities and making it part of the puzzles. Even if they're not like necessarily needing to be there, I used a lot of the abilities in a different way than I think that they intended me to use them, and that is kind of the amazing part about this game with Tears of the Kingdom, is that they don't expect you to do it their way. They give you a way. There's a way that they expected you to do it, but a lot of the shrines and stuff, you can just do the most weird way or easier than you think that they probably were intending you to do it. The biggest thing, I love the entire game. I think it's probably the best game on the Switch. Breath of the Wild was already that territory for me, so Tears of the Kingdom is definitely just much better and kind of eliminates some of the headaches, but also it still has some of the headaches. Get into that with the bad. But I think if you love Breath of the Wild, you'll love this one. I've heard some people say that people that didn't like Breath of the Wild actually liked Tears of the Kingdom. It still has some of the issues, but for the most part, I enjoyed the game. So let's go ahead and talk about the bad, because out of everything, I think I could talk about it for days of just how great the game is. There's a few things that I had issues with in this game, and it mostly has to do with what was wrong with Breath of the Wild. So before we get into what was wrong with Breath of the Wild and what is still wrong with this one to a lesser extent, let's go ahead and talk about performance issues. I did run into performance issues even on stream playing this game, just in the dock. I've heard it's worse if you're playing in handheld. I don't have any first-hand experience on that, so let me know if it is worse than handheld. I didn't play at all in handheld, so most of my issues were when there's a lot of particles in the sky while you're like trying to do something. That maybe is more taxing too, with the Ultra Hand, I think is what's called. The ability to let you move things that has a lot of draw to the FPS. And then in the water temple, I believe, and some other places where there's particles just flying all over the place or just floating in the view, it kind of slows down because it already slows down with the Ultra Hand, and then picks back up pretty easily. Like, yes, it's noticeable, but it's not too long. Whereas when you try to use it with the particle effects or things shooting off of like a spout for water, that dropped the frame rate a lot, and that was noticeable quite a bit. So for performance, I didn't notice it except for really in the water area or very small amounts of the game where I actually noticed it and it affected my gameplay. I noticed it with the Ultra Hand, but it's like, it doesn't really affect how I feel about like playing the game. It still felt fluid. It was just, yes, it was kind of dogging down with the frame rate. So I understand that some people don't like that or are more sensitive to that. I personally did not notice it at first until I got to the water temple. So in the majority of the game, you don't even notice it. A lot of the boss fights are self-contained, so it's not too big of an issue. Again, water temple excluded there. But so let's go ahead and talk about my problem with Breath of the Wild and what the problem was with this game, and it's directions. The directions in this game can be kind of difficult for main story things. So side quests and more side adventures, I think is what they called it, those I would understand if they're a little bit more puzzly for finding out what you need to do for the quest. But the main quest, there are points in the main quest that make it so difficult to progress that it degrades my experience. The water temple, again, was the most irritating for me. It made it, I had to look up how to get to the water temple in a certain spot. If you go back and watch the stream, that's when it would be. I'll probably link that one down in the description so you guys can go, and I'll probably put it as like a time marker on that stream. I'll try to hit that for you guys so you guys can see what I'm talking about if you're interested. I'm not going to put that as like a little cutscene in the video, as I don't want to spoil anything if you don't want to know about it. But if you do want to know about it, it's in the link in the description. I just had to look it up, and for the rest of the game, I didn't have to look up anything to progress except for that part. And I did have to figure out that what I thought was a side quest was actually the closer to the end of the story. I had to look that up. I looked it up off stream, came into it, and I was like, of course. They kind of pointed me that direction, so that one was on me. That's not as much as on them, but it did not tell me that that was part of the main story. So I mostly say it's my fault on that one. But the main water temple one, I think that was kind of not well designed. When they wanted to improve the rest of the game, I feel like the rest of the game was improved from Breath of the Wild, where Breath of the Wild gave like almost no instruction. This one gives quite a bit of instruction of where to go. So I think it's definitely improved from Breath of the Wild, but they did miss it on some of the parts of the story where they kind of just expect you to know that you're supposed to go on this thing that kind of looks like a side quest but isn't, or you're supposed to just know where to find this other object for the water one. And so yeah, it's nitpicky. For the most part, 99% of the game I love just how it is. I would not recommend to change any of it. Just these parts where it's the main story, I expect to be guided through the main story, and so the side quests and stuff, maybe okay, maybe not, but a little bit of the main story I expect more guided experience. And I think that's kind of a way that they just do Zelda, and they've done that, and they kind of go back and forth on. Some Zeldas are more straightforward, tells you exactly where to go, some of them are not. That's my own opinion. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, if you guys don't actually care about that, or if you actually like that it doesn't guide you through it. I know it's kind of a mixed opinion there. That's the most divisive thing about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, is just the guidance that you get to play the main story. Now, I didn't find anything else that was like bad in my opinion. I really enjoyed the story. I really enjoyed all of it. I think it had a great peak of everything. I think that I guess the only, it's not bad, but it's not great, is the ability to do whatever you want in any order kind of destroyed some of the story for me, because you can learn different parts of the story in advance. So they're talking about something that you already know completely about, but they don't know you know it, even though you already beat the quest. Like, I beat a quest that is a big storyline that should have been something that they could have adapted to, and they kind of do in certain aspects, where if you already did something, it'll immediately skip to the new dialogue, as if they're gonna wait for you. Previously, they would have just waited for you to beat that mission, you have to go back to them. So they just skip right to that one. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag there, where they expected you to do it in any order, so they check to see if you did something and then they give you that response. But then there were sometimes they're like telling you something that you're like, I already know exactly what you're talking about, except for you're not telling me you know that. It was kind of weird to me for that, but it didn't break the experience at all. I understand that it's an open, game, so some people just don't even play through it. I think a speedrunner beat it first day in like 30 minutes or something like that. So I don't expect them to write, every condition there. I just think, yeah, there were some parts that it just made it weird when they were talking about it, and I'm like, I already did that, I already know exactly what you're talking about, and they just don't know it. I don't know. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about all this. Did you guys play the game? Did you guys beat it already? I'd love to know your guys' experience with the game, if you played it or beaten it. Try not to spoil anything in the comments. Again, let me know in the comments if you guys want to hear more of a spoiler rich video of me talking about my experience through Tears of the Kingdom. I almost called it Breath of the Wild. I've done that a few times, since we always called it Breath of the Wild 2 for so long. Again, let me know in the comments. I'll make another video if you guys want, and follow links down in the description for a bunch of social stuff, as well as if you want to check out that live stream, what I was talking about for the water temple. And like this video if you liked it, dislike if you don't, and hit the subscribe button. And we also go live, so if you do hit the subscribe button and turn the bell notifications on, you'll also get notified when we go live. I'm going live more here now, so it's a good idea to turn that on so you get notified for everything. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.